Only holiday in places colder than 5 degrees or hotter than 35 degrees.
Ooh. Ugh.
This is in Celsius for all of our American listeners. So what's the Fahrenheit? We'll do it for you guys so you don't have to Google it.
And Calvin too.
We want the Kelvin for all the scientists out there. They don't understand. They don't actually ever read the news or anything come out of their lab. They only talk in Kelvin. Yeah.
So it's lower than 41 degrees Fahrenheit or higher than 95 degrees Fahrenheit for all our American friends.
This is tough. I honestly would just go for the cold, but then I did go to Queenstown last year and experience what true cold feels like at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And that wasn't nice. I'll say that it wasn't enjoyable, but sweltering heats non-stop. I don't know. That's a hard one too. I burn really easily because my pasty white skin. So if it's 30 plus and I'm in the sun for 5 minutes, I'm going pink.
But it's a holiday, man. You're prepared for it. You're right by the pool. There's air conditioning. It's not all the time. Nice cold drinks. And are you a snowboarder? Are you a skier?
You know that answer.
Yes. No.
Yeah, although the log cabin with the fire going, that's kind of like playing some board games or card games. That's a nice vibe. I don't mind it being cold there if we can stay warm inside.
Playing board games in 35 plus degrees is not good.
No.
The sweat.
No,
what did it do to those cards?
And then people walk into the room and bro, someone needs to take a shower. What's
Someone's
going
on?
At that point, you really need to sleeve your cards out.
I'm definitely going hot, even though I don't like heat. And if this question was about where I would live, I probably would take the cold, although I don't know the consequences of that. But I think I would go with cold for just my everyday existence. Warming up is nice, having fires and stuff is okay. I really don't like heat day to day. If I have to work and think in heat, I feel like I don't think well. But because it's on holiday, going to the beach, having a swim, relaxing, going inside with AC, all that sort of stuff, I can handle it for short periods of time on holiday. So I think I'm going to go with that. Now, skiing and snowboarding is awesome. And in another life, I would be into them. It's just quite expensive and quite prohibitive to get into that because we've also got a mountain that's the closest one's 5 hours away, which is probably actually not too bad. But I haven't got into skiing and snowboarding. So if I was into them, maybe I'd give a different answer. But the thought of it being 5 degrees on holiday and wanting to go fishing or something like that and just being absolutely freezing, nah, not for me.
Yeah, I'm so undecided on this. This is tough. I'm going to choose not to go on holiday.
Well, you have your own business, Shem, so that's pretty.
Yeah, what's a holiday? But Sam, I think you are convincing me that if it's for a holiday, as much as the heat can be brutal, you kind of want to be going out and about. I remember going to music festivals and the heat and the dust was so nasty, but I'd rather that than be really freezing cold the whole time, eh? In your tent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. You're probably right, but I'm still feeling almost undecided on this one. Zach.
Well, I'm definitely going for the heat. You've given me a lot of time to think about it. I actually lived in Italy, and a lot of summers it was 35 degrees for weeks on end, and it's not fun. I don't like it. But because you're going on holiday, you can choose the place you go on holiday, right? So if it was at the beach or at the lake, and I only go to those places where there's water that you can hop into, and it's only a week, so one of the downsides of heat, right, is unless you have air conditioning, you don't sleep well. So let's just say, even in the case where there's not air conditioning and you're not sleeping well, it's maybe only a week of your life. So it's doable. You cannot sleep well for a week. It's okay. Cold, it's so prohibitive to doing outdoorsy stuff unless you like snowboarding, skiing, and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think I would choose the heat, but I think I would always go on holiday to a lake or the beach and not to an ancient city to look around in the 35-degree heat where you're dying and it's, muggy and whatever.
Yeah. The other thing about this question is kind of is it descriptive or prescriptive? Not only what do you prefer, but it's going to dictate the places that you go. Are you going to Canada and Russia and Scandinavia, or are you going to Thailand and Hawaii and, Africa, all these places where it would be hotter, Florida, that kind of thing.
Because you could do a cruise around the fjords in Norway in less than 5 degrees or whatever. That'd be pretty cool. You go to Lapland and see the Northern Lights. Yeah.
Yeah, the allure of Southeast Asia and the Mediterranean and like all that's North Africa, that those places kind of appeal to me, all the history there and stuff. It'd be hard for it to be that cold in those sort of places.
Shem.
Land the plane.
All right, moving on. So hard to choose. You're right, though. It's so much of it is dictated by the place you go to, right? So
You're a Viking.
that's true. But I also love to visit Egypt and stuff as well, and other
Yeah.
places. So looks like I'll just be holidaying at nighttime most times, or not holidaying at all. So we'll leave it at that, maybe.
Welcome to the Lens and Veil podcast. Join Shem, Sam, and Zach as they share the 10 games that made them. In this episode, covering games 5 to 1.
So this is a special episode where we're doing two parts. Many podcasts and board game YouTube channels bandy about the term willy-nilly, top 10 board games of all time. And then they proceed the next year to do another list. And then the next year they do another one, and so on and so forth. And all time really starts sounding like top 10 games of right now. And so we're actually wanting to do a top 10 games of all time, where our criteria is not what I most want to play right now or something similar. But this list is a true top games of all time where we take out our recency bias. Small asterisk, this top 10 games of all time is for each of us personally. These are our subjective opinions. And we are really considering the most significant games that have been in our life. In a way, this is like our own board game hall of fame. These are the games that made us. Top 10 coming at you right now.
So number 5, we've got past the top 5 trash from 6 to 10. We're into the good stuff now, right? We can
we're
say
into the
that.
good stuff.
Yeah. I'm curious to see if there's any more crossovers, though. This one I don't expect to be on your lists. And it's probably a game that gets overlooked a fair bit. It's actually like a spin-off card game of a big popular board game, but I much prefer this game over the original. And this is San Juan by Andreas Seyfarth. Sorry if I butchered your last name. This often gets compared to Race for the Galaxy, which then inspired Roll for the Galaxy. They use the same mechanism where, well, actually it's different in that game a little bit, but in San Juan you are on your turn selecting a roll. You will then perform that roll with a slight benefit, like an extra buff, and then everyone else in clockwise order can also perform that roll without that extra benefit. So I might say, I'm going to build. When I build, I can spend one less card to build, and you guys can all build as well if you want to. So timing is really important in the game, and often seeing what other players are doing and what their potential is to trade or to buy or to whatever it might be is really important. But it's a small card game that packs like a big, not big, but a medium weight Euro experience, I'd say. Similar space to even Citadels in a weird way, and the kind of the feeling and the table presence you get for the game. But yeah, it's a knockout, and I think it is like 22 years old. I think I looked up before. So it's the little brother of Puerto Rico, and I honestly didn't really care for Puerto Rico when I played it, and I think I played it twice, and just didn't really sing with me very well. But San Juan is an amazing game. If you want a small card game, it's definitely one to get. The second edition I've played once or twice, and it actually is an improvement on the original. There's a few more cards, and it is actually like, I don't know, there's more variety that you see in the game. There's more to enjoy, more to explore. So San Juan still holds up. I played it maybe a year ago, and it still was really, really good game. So
Sorry, I missed what you said at the start. I've definitely played this with you. Is this 2-player only, or is it not? Is it?
no,
Can we
it's
play
2 to 4.
Yeah, I'm keen to play this some more. It's really good. Great pick. No, that's not on my list, but it's one of those games that I sort of forget exists.
Yeah.
And then I always have a good time with it whenever you show me. Yeah, it's
I've
really
never even
clever.
heard of it before, so there we go.
You guys need to get edumacated.
Yeah, and get myself educated
Good.
at Garphill University.
All right. Now, please hold back your cringing. My number 5 is Architects of the West Kingdom.
Trash game, man, trash game.
This was my first co-design, and crucially, this is partially in the list for my own learnings and stuff like that, but it's kind of in there for Shem. It's in there for the whole experience of designing a game with someone. This was my first experience of co-designing, and this has become, one, my job, but really, it became a hobby. Like the experience of designing this game made me feel like I want to keep doing this indefinitely. I loved the experience. I learned so much from this, and I feel incredibly blessed that this game did as well as it did, and people still play it, and lots of people bought the game and played the game and loved the game. And so that was just amazing because I kind of had this harebrained idea for a mechanism, and Shem was there with me to develop this into something that was way better than what I ever could have done without him. Yeah, and just so it's the learning, it's the experience, but really it's there for catching the bug of designing games and designing games with people, which is just so enjoyable for me.
Sam's trying to make me cry. Stop it, Sam. Stop it.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, it kickstarted, excuse the pun, but it kickstarted a passion. You know, I say that this is a dream job, but then I say, but it's not a dream that I ever had, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't dream about being a board game designer, but it's a dream job. And so that couldn't exist without architects, I don't think. So yeah.
Also, my first experience co-designing. So,
yeah,
there you go.
But this was, it was just different because it was like you're saying, it was like you came with a spark and then we kind of worked on it together. So that for me was also my first time helping to refine a game, I suppose, too.
Right.
I may have actually that might not be true. Maybe it's the same year. I can't quite remember. But with
GKR.
No, it would have been first. It would have been first. GKR was soon after, I think. Yeah. But then to go on to do Paladins together from the ground up, you know. So it was very cool change of way of doing things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It was the start of, many people's favorite design duo. So there we go.
Don't know about that.
Probably some of our listeners, at least, if they can be bothered listening to us,
Nobody listens to the sack. Come on. You know this.
Talking into the emptiness.
Just our mums.
Hi, Mum.
Yeah, hi, Mum.
All right. So that means we're up to me, and yeah, I don't have much to say about architects, sorry. Number 5. My number 5 is Catan, Settlers of Catan, or as it's called now, Catan. So this game, I think my parents bought it for us when I was I think we were in Auckland, so I was probably about 13. On the recommendation of a friend of my mum's who was kind of more into board games, was like, oh, it's a cool game. And, played it a lot with my family, with my mum and dad, and with my younger brother Eli. Johnny was a bit little. But we used to always have the rule in our family was whoever won had to clean up the game. And this kind of took away some of the bad feelings of getting whipped, was that you're like, oh, you have to clean up because you won, So that was kind of the family rule, which was quite funny. But yeah, I really enjoyed Catan, and I'm a development card guy. I just go spam those development cards. So that's my strat. And it wasn't, obviously it's not like the first game. I played a lot of board games before that, but it's definitely the first kind of intro into that resource management, like heavy resource management sort of game. And a lot of people give Catan a hard time, and it's not exactly a game that I would probably play now, but like you have to say that the whole having like that trade phase in the middle of this Euro game is quite unique. And recently I played Sidereal Confluence, which is like pretty much all trading, which is like taking that to the nth degree. But like it works. There's a reason it sold so many copies, because that just creates this level of interaction at the table, and that can be different for every group as well, where it's like, never trade with John, he's gonna beat us, so not trade with him or whatever, So it creates all these kind of like group metas and stuff like that. So as much as I think some people in the modern board game hobby love to kind of like hate on it now, as you do on anything that's too popular or gets too mainstream. It's kind of what happens in these hobbies, but I think it's pretty impressive, and considering like when it was made as well. So Catan.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to poop on something that you try later and like 30 years after its release, right? And
yeah,
so anyone trying it now will be like, what's so special about this? But they don't realize that how many games has this game inspired, which have then inspired more games and more games. So yeah, it's a reason it's pretty much number one game of all time, really, to be fair.
Yeah.
Maybe not in all circles, but like in the modern board gaming circles, it is the top of the top. It comes to like units sold and games played.
Yeah.
It's leagues above other ones. It's up there with the TCG crowd, right? Like it's huge.
Yeah, I would be shocked if we did a poll of everyone that listens to this if Catan wasn't average number 1 in this list for everyone, right? Like that would just be at the top. And I think the only one that could compete would be Magic the Gathering, But like in terms of significant games for people that got into the board game hobby, Catan brought so many people into the hobby.
Yeah.
Yep, and it definitely had an influence on me as well. So there we go.
Good pick. Good pick. So my number 4 has already been mentioned twice, and that is by the great Bruno Fedudi. This is Citadels, and we've already said a lot about it already, so there's not much else really to say. But it is another game that I actually got from Wellington. I think it was the second or third Wellington I went to. It was upstairs at this Thistle Hall in Wellington, and they had a thing where you could just roll a die and try and win a game, and I won Citadels. So it was like as I was leaving,
Oh,
I happened to roll, I guess, like a 12 and a D12 or something. And I won the game Citadels, went home, played it, and then just thrashed it to pieces. Like, my copy is disgusting. I never really got into the expansion that was baked in, the Dark City expansion, but I'm so glad it was there because I was able to sleeve my set and put the nice unplayed expansion cards behind and then put the rubbish Taz ones in the front. So my set is now, sleeved with cards never used behind and the crappy ones that are mixed up, scratched to pieces in the front. I haven't played it in ages. I know Bobby Hill, he got the new version of it. I think there's like 2 new versions. There's like a version which is basically the original game, maybe with the expansion and a small box. And there's a slightly more deluxeified version that has way more roles, which I was very hesitant to try. But I remember playing with Bobby. It's probably actually going to be like 4 or 5 years now. And I was actually impressed. It actually worked pretty well with different roles. But I really just like you were saying, Sam, the meta that gets created, and you understand the characters and what it means when this person takes that and they don't kill that person. That means something else. And yeah, such a great game. And like it does work well at most player counts. I played it a ton at like, I think it was 7. I think you played 8 with the extra character added from memory. This is in my early 20s, and we would play it like
yeah.
back to back for hours. But then I think I tried that again in more recent years, and it was like, this game's too long with this many players. But I actually love the game at 3. Like 3 is one of my favorite
3 and 4. Yeah.
because there's this weird mind game where like if you pass on, say, the assassin or the thief and it doesn't get taken, then you've got information about who to actually assassinate or whatever it is. There's some weird cool mind games that get added with a 3-player, even 2-player experience.
Is 3-player the one where you get 2 characters?
Yeah.
You get 2 turns each round? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool there.
That's
And then thinking about synergies and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Great game.
Yeah, nice. I'm starting to think that I'm going to have a lot of crossover with Zach, but I might be wrong. In our top 5, I think there might be, like, in my mind, there might be 3 crossovers, but I might be wrong. I think this would be one of them if I'm correct. And my number 4 is Risk. And strictly, it's probably should be Lord of the Rings Risk. I played this so much in my childhood, and this is definitely the fondest memories I have from those times of playing board games. I remember playing like Scrabble, Monopoly, all those sorts of ones, but Risk was the one that I would hound my dad, can we play? We would play this with our cousins and uncles and that at like holidays and stuff with family. And I was the youngest. And I remember the moment I was allowed to play Risk, and I was just so much younger than everyone else. And I managed to do quite well. And they're like, oh man, maybe we've been sleeping on this kid. Maybe he needs to come and join the table some more, come and play some games. I really, really enjoyed strategizing, like thinking about how to group my armies, where they should be, where the pressure points are, how I want to defend, how I want to attack, And this is a game that I loved so much. And I think it's probably still good. Now there's all the luck element of the dice and that sort of thing, but you roll the dice so many times. It's also kind of a game about probabilities. It's a game about like, how long can I push here and how many troops am I willing to lose in order to win this battle and stuff like that. And also you need to keep an eye on what everyone else is doing. Sometimes going in and losing some troops just to slow someone down, prevent them getting their region bonuses is worthwhile. So definitely a very interactive game. And this had to be one of the biggest inspirations for Chaos Order. Basically, we wanted to play a game that gave those feelings of Risk, which was nostalgic for me. And if we went back and played it, wouldn't give those same feelings as it does in our mind, which I guess that's just how nostalgia works, right? But massive inspiration for other games, and had so much fun playing this game, except for that one experience where, you have to learn humility at one point in your life, and maybe I was not so good a winner. I'm not sure. I really hope that I'm not a bad winner nowadays, but I was probably not a good winner in hindsight. And so my friends, they called me one evening saying, oh, do you want to come over and play Risk? And little did I might have already shared this story, but I'm going to share it again. And little did I know, they were hanging out without me, and they had all planned to gang up on me, and then they called me, and it felt like I just sprung the trap, and it was just not an enjoyable experience at all. And everyone was doing stuff that didn't make sense. Like, why are you attacking me now? I'm down and out. What are you doing? And so that was a bit cruel, but I guess I did learn humility probably through that experience. So at least a little bit, there's always more humility to learn. But yeah, that was not a great experience, but the game still is very, very high in my opinion.
And Zach, we definitely don't do that anymore, right? We don't.
Yeah. No, not
we,
at all.
No, we never conspire again.
We don't write to each other on Discord before saying let's gang up on Sam.
No, never. He still wins anyway.
Great pick, Sam. Great pick. We'll see if there's a crossover. But not now, because my number 4. So I don't think I agree with a famous board game reviewer very often called Tom Vassell, but I definitely agree with him on this call because he's
catching strays. Like, what did this guy do to earn this?
he always has this quite high in his top 100, and this game is Balderdash. Well, I say it because I haven't really heard anyone else talk about it in the board game space. But Tom Vassell always has this like pretty high in his top 100. Have you guys ever played Balderdash?
So the word game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They come up with dictionary definitions for words you've never.
Yeah, I played it.
Yeah, exactly.
Balder Trash. Yeah, I played Trash.
All right. So Balderdash is a game that I think my parents bought when I was about 6 or 7. And I played it a lot with my siblings, with my parents, with family, friends. Now, I don't know if every version of Balderdash is the same, but the version we had, it had like different categories. So it's like, imagine Dixit, but actually good. Throwing shade. It's like the better version of Dixit. Like Dixit is totally a Balderdash ripoff. Like it's not ripoff. A Balderdash inspired game that's just using pictures instead of words. So in Balderdash, you basically have these categories, and whoever's the person that's it or whatever has to choose one. So in our version, at least, I don't know if all versions are the same, but we had like famous person's name, but there is like famous people who no one knows who they are. There is like not that famous, but sort of famous enough to have something written about them. Like a date where something happened, an acronym, a word that's like a really obscure word that normally no one knows what it means, but it exists, and a movie title, I think, for like a really obscure movie that probably no one's ever seen. So it was all these things where they really exist, but they're so obscure that generally no one who's playing it will know what that is. And what happens is everyone has to come up with like the acronym. You have to come up with like what the actual words are in the acronym, or the word. You have to come up with the definition, and everyone writes their version and hands it to the person who's in, and the person who's in shuffles everything in a random order, reads out what people have written, and they also, in amongst there, will read out the actual real answer, and then everyone has to guess which one was the real one, right? And you get 2 points if you guess the right one, and 1 point for every person that guesses yours. And if no one guesses the right answer, then the person who's in gets 3 points. And so, yeah, like it's super fun. And like once you've played it a bunch of times, you know what the real answers sound like. So you can start like really imitating that style of writing. And it gets really tricky to figure out, like, because often people will choose stuff that's ridiculous because some of the like word definitions and stuff are just like not what you'd expect. And so sometimes you have to be like, that's so weird, that must be the right answer, But then people get the meta, and then people start writing like really ridiculous, weird stuff, and so you can't figure out what it is. I would totally play this again. I haven't played it in a long time, but I would 100% keep playing this because I just think it's like so much fun and so like creative at the same time, because you're like trying to come up with a creative way to fool people into thinking that that's the right answer, and it's just like it's a lot of fun, and just some of the stuff that people write can just be really funny. So I think Balderdash is great, and I think it's the best game in that category that exists, in my opinion.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, we're on to number 3. We're getting there. We're almost there. All right, so this game is one of the games that I guess I was into the hobby at that point. I should say also, before I jump right in, there are plenty of games that could be on this list that I absolutely love now, but when I played them the first time, I'd already defined that I would have loved them, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah,
when I first played Arnak, it was like, well, of course I love this game because I've learned all the other games before that kind of primed me for it.
Been shaped. Yeah.
Whereas the games on this list are much more like the games that did shape me into the taste I have now. So This game was one of the games that took me from sort of this gateway to medium weight kind of game that I was enjoying at the time into more of the medium Euro space, I guess. So it was a game that offered a bit more meat and a bit more crunch, which I obviously love now in games. And this is, I'm going to try and not butcher the names, designed by Michael Reineck and Stefan Sadler. And this is Pillars of the Earth, which is a big, nice medium weight worker placement resource management game. And a lot of things in this game have inspired me in other games, and I've mentioned raiders a few times in the previous episode, but in this game you are assembling a crew of sorts. You are acquiring craftspeople that will help you do different resource conversions at the end of each round, and that very much echoes the crew in raiders, your people in architects. This idea of kind of assembling a workforce of cards of people of different professions as well. And so often when I was designing games like raiders and architects, I would scour through my other card games I had that have character names. So I'd look through all the characters in Pillars of the Earth. I'd look through the character names or the building names on San Juan, or like I'd go through all these things, try and find like what are these different professions. This is before me probably Googling nowadays, but I'd always like to look through these games and like get inspiration for character names and building names and such. So but Pillars of the Earth, yeah, it's a really cool system where it's got kind of two levels of worker placement. The first is that you're, in a sense, bidding for either resources or for new craftspeople with these small workers. And it's done in a round the table kind of fashion of just dropping off one or more workers, a bit like Stone Age. And then the next phase is the real worker placement, which is in a way an auction. You've got these master builders that come out and they get drawn out of a bag, placed on this little like half circle. And the first one I think is like you can spend 7 gold to place this right now if you want to, or you can pass. And if you pass, the dial goes down to 6, and the next thing gets drawn out. And then now that player can pay 6 to place their thing. But eventually, once it gets down to 0, you then place out the rest from the bag and then come back to those guys who passed, who then go last in turn order. And you're vying for different worker placement spots on the board. And once that's all been done, you'll then resolve them all in number order around the board. So it's a lot of picking up powers, getting more resources, trading them in for benefits, all for the glorious, victory points that we love to have in games. So you're trying to generate resources to then trade them for resources each round. I think it's only 6 rounds long, but it is a meatier experience. Probably not by today's standards. It's probably much more, almost in a gateway space now, but it's still, I think, probably in the medium. But it still holds up too. I've played it recently, and it's still a great game. Good fun.
It's such a genius mechanism, eh? That whole like, I don't know, the draft, the bidding. No, it's not bidding. It's like, are you willing to pay this right now to go first? And if you don't, you have to go last. It's really clever.
Yeah, it's like an auction for turn order, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Martin Wallace has done a few games like this in a way, and I think Bruno Cathala's done it a few times with games where you are kind of like, how much do you want to buy turn order? Like, how much do you want to spend to go first? But yeah, it's a good system.
Yeah, 5 tribes is like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's me. Oh, no, top 3. Any of these 3 could be my number 1. That's how like crazy awesome these games are, or how impactful and significant they have been for me. And so my number 3, I had to just decide somehow. My number 3 is going to be 500, which is a trick-taking card game. I think it's most famous and popular in New Zealand and Australia. I don't know what the closest parallels are, like similar-ish to euchre, maybe spades. But there's a whole bidding phase. It's a 2v2. Actually, it can be played many player counts. You can play 5-player cutthroat where you pick a partner. You can play 6-player with 2v2v2 or 3v3. There's lots of ways, but it's a team game where there's bidding for how many tricks you think you can win. And the team that bids the highest, they have the right to declare the contract. And then the others are kind of defending, trying to take them down. I play Bridge now, which is my number 1 game. It's my favorite game. I think I'm going to be playing it maybe for the rest of my life. It seems like perhaps. But this is the game that kind of led me to Bridge. And so many fond memories I have of playing this game with my dad and some of his friends and some family friends as well. I love the team elements, like working together, but also trying to win against the other people. I love the bidding, where there's also kind of like a little bit of bluffing element and a little bit of risk taking when you bid. And there's also this thing in 500, which isn't in Bridge, which is kind of cool, where there's 3 cards set aside face down. So everyone gets 10 cards dealt to them. And there's 3 cards left in the deck that are face down. And the person that wins the bid gets to pick up those 3 cards and discard any 3. And so there's this whole thing where you're like, oh, it's called the kitty. And it's this whole thing like, oh, the kitty's going to win me 2 tricks. The kitty's going to be great. And then you get this groan when you pick up the kitty. Oh, man, we're going down. We're not going to make this contract at all. So yeah, it's a fantastic game, really worth trying out. It's not too hard to learn if you know trick taking, but I think it still holds up, like compared to the modern trick takers coming out these days. Like I think 500 is still a fantastic game.
Well, all that I have to say about that is we have a perfect crossover because 500 is also my number 3 game.
Yeah.
And I kind of talked about it a bit in the top 10. And if I was to have a crossover with my top 10, this probably should have been it. But because I don't really play it anymore, and because, our top 10 was pretty weighted towards games that we want to play, that we feel like playing at the moment, that we liked in that moment, at least in my list. And so Tichu was kind of like took 500 spot with like a game, they're a 2v2 card game that I really like and enjoy playing.
Right.
So 500, yeah, I played it with my parents a lot growing up. And then I remember like even when I was a young adult, I guess like even like university age, we played it heaps in like our church kind of young adults group and stuff would be playing it. There was one summer we played it heaps. Yeah, it's so good. I'll definitely still play it. Like if people wanted to play it, I'd definitely still play it. I'm probably not going to be like trying to organize games of 500 because I've played it so much and I've been introduced to new things like Tichu that I didn't know about. But like if anyone was like, you want to play 500, I'd be like, yeah, keen. Great trick taker.
And one that I have not played. So
Really? Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
one day, eh?
I feel
One
like
day.
you need to be educated, man.
Hey.
Your girls might enjoy this
Ooh.
game as well, maybe.
Well, I'm looking at our number 3s. We've got Pillars of the Earth and then 500. I'm happy with my choice. So, yeah. All right. Number 2. This was a game that it's had a massive impact on me, I guess, which is why it's number 2. I actually played this. We were on our 3rd year anniversary and we were traveling down south together, me and my wife. And we spent a few nights at some friends in Nelson and they pulled out this game to play. And we played it, I think, every night it was 2 or 3 nights, maybe more. Every night, at least 2 or 3 times a night. We played it nonstop. Anyway, as soon as I got home, I was like, where can I buy this game? And I bought it. And we played it I think, for 6 months every day after work, like twice a day. Me and my wife would play on the floor in a little flat. This is Ticket to Ride Europe. And most Ticket to Ride things that come with that. But specifically, it was Europe that really got me. I bought the original after maybe a year or so of playing it and didn't really think much of it because it lacked like the ferries and the tunnels and all that kind of stuff. So we played a lot of Europe. We also got the Switzerland map before it was re-released. So we had the original Switzerland map and played that to death. We'd played Nordic countries over Christmas every year. And I'm not saying it's a perfect game by any means. There's some issues in the game where you can just luck into drawing points at the end. And you just go, I'll get more missions. Oh, I've done that. I've done that. There's flaws in the game for sure. But what it does really well is it's a perfect gateway game because it's so simple on your turn. You either draw cards, spend cards to place tracks, or you draw more missions. With the extra rule of you can place out a station with Europe, but generally it's really only 1 or 2 actions you're taking until you start drawing more missions. So like I've played this with my kids. We've played the legacy version of it, and that was a blast over Christmas a couple of years ago. And it still holds up for me. I'd still play it regularly with the kids and with my wife. And not as much as we used to, obviously, but it's still a great game. And I still would happily play it again because it's so easy, right? It's simple. It's route building. I enjoy that kind of stuff where it's like trying to make connections. It's not a big brain burn for me, but I still enjoy the satisfaction of achieving things and having objectives to complete and doing them. So there you go. And it's a massive seller, Ticket to Ride. It's a huge franchise. And yeah, there we go. Enough said.
I think I know what your first pick, your number 1 is now, but yeah.
Okay.
I'll leave it for the.
I don't know if I know.
I think I know. 100%. If I'm wrong,
Cool.
it won't be 100%, but.
So my number 2 is Raiders of the North Sea.
Oh, more trash.
Yeah, this has to be in there. So many reasons why. One, I remember playtesting this game. Now, I playtested some games of Shem's maybe prior to playtesting this, but this is standing in for all of the playtesting. We played this as a band as well. But as a gamer, this game blew my mind. This is probably my first kind of Euro style game, victory points and like lots of different strategies, different paths. I loved hiring my crew and letting them die. Like I loved going up that Valkyrie track. It was my strat. I would just raid the harbors, get all the resources I can and kill off my troops. If there was Valkyrie in the harbors, I would love doing that. And yeah, so this was a game that captivated me for its interesting mechanisms and all that sort of stuff. So as a gamer, amazing, and opening the door to Euro games. But also, like, Architects was a number 5, but Architects wouldn't exist without Raiders for several reasons. One of them, obviously, is that, Raiders managed to do so well, and it was the platform that Shem had built to be able to do games afterwards. And Miko's art and all that sort of stuff landed with people. But also the fact that, like, oh, my friend designed this. Like, oh, maybe designing games is something that people can do. It just opened this world of possibilities, right? And getting to work with Shem and all that sort of stuff. So Raiders is carrying a lot of that weight of my own design career, because I just don't think I would have done it without Raiders for several reasons. So yeah, Raiders of the North Sea, well-deserved number 2.
Thanks, Sam.
You guys played it? You played it?
Nah.
Yeah, interestingly, I don't think I ever played it in the playtesting stage. I remember at the flat, you guys, I think I was playing like Shipwrights maybe,
Played Shipwrights,
and you
yeah.
guys were playing it on the floor, like maybe Sam, Blake, and Shem or something, and I was playing Shipwrights with like Luke and maybe my brother was there as well. I can't remember. But yeah, so I don't think I actually got to play it until it was already out, and obviously it's a fantastic game. I haven't played Raiders of Scythia though. Yeah,
What?
I know, terrible.
Oh, we have some testing to do soon, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. I have to play that some more soon. I don't know why.
I think we did a 6-player game of Raiders of the North Sea at my flat with Luke.
Yep.
And he was the one, I think this was like testing both the expansions before they'd come out, and just testing the 6-player thing. And he was the one that did the thing that I wanted to do and now try to do all the time, where he like didn't raid at all. He like, do you remember that?
Yeah, he came second by pretty closely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He like managed to build up this really cool card engine, and then was doing the offerings and the quest things. Yeah. And it was so, I thought, man, this guy's so cool. Like, just picking up these really like degenerate strategies and trying to make it work. And it's like, it's a really good sign for the designer, where it's like, here's this weird thing that did well, but it didn't win. So it's not like super problematic, but it's viable,
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
I feel like Luke is an inspiration to me for like trying to do this strat, to be like, I'm just not going to do this thing that the game's telling me to do and try and make it work,
Our next list is top 10 people that have inspired you. Luke's like number 1.
All of us know. So Sam was right. There's a few crossovers in our top 5, because my number 2 is Risk. So more the base game of Risk. Definitely Lord of the Rings Risk, but that came later for me, because Risk, I think we got it for Christmas, like I don't even know, it must have been like 6 or 7 probably when we got it for Christmas. I've got 2 older siblings who are 5 and 6 years older than me. So I was the baby playing with them. And so obviously, they would wreck me. They knew what they were doing. I was just like happy to get to play. But I absolutely loved Risk. And it was just such a cool game. Like, you were like, had your armies and you're building up, you're getting more troops, and you're playing on the world map. I really liked geography growing up as well, so like learning more parts of the world as well, even though obviously those regions don't necessarily correspond to countries. You had like Afghanistan, which probably included like Kazakhstan and like all sorts of other countries around there. There was no Russia. It was all broken up into regions. But anyway, I absolutely loved Risk growing up. And another thing that Sam didn't mention about Risk, which, well, he did kind of mention it in his story, was the backroom dealing. Like, I actually loved that aspect of Risk, was the backroom dealing, because it would be like, for us, it would be like, maybe someone was winning and they go to the toilet and you're like, bro, it's gang up on them. And then, you maybe gang up on them, and then someone betrays that treaty, because it's not like an official treaty. It's more like so all the kind of like the politics and the
made the mistake of going to the toilet. Like, should have had adult nappies, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
rookie. So like all that kind of backroom dealing and like you secretly making treaties and all that kind of stuff. Like I like, it was heaps of fun. And I don't think I've ever been someone that's got too hurt about things not going well for me. I think I'm a pretty good loser sometimes, most of the time.
Well practiced.
Well practiced, exactly. You get used to it. So, like that kind of backroom dealings and stuff, I think it can be really, like, some people really bounce off that sort of game where it's like there's like a social element to it, right? But I've always enjoyed it. So Risk definitely had that for us. And all the same things that Sam said about like Chaos Order. Chaos Order was definitely mostly inspired by Risk, which might surprise people, but that was a huge inspiration. So yeah, Risk.
I actually only played Risk, I think, the first time around the same time I was learning these other games like Citadels and stuff. So I think at the time I played it, I was already starting to get a bit like put off by dice rolls and stuff,
Yeah.
leading more towards Euro style games or games with more control and agency. But I found a copy of Risk of Legacy on an online trading thing here in New Zealand for about $10. Usually it's 150 brand new here. Give a comparison. So I grabbed it. It was like they played one level and then untouched anything else. So we played it 2 or 3 years ago, me and my two daughters.
There's a story behind that, eh? Someone
yeah.
just rage quit. No, we can't handle
yeah,
this game.
exactly.
Get rid of it.
But yeah, we played. My girls liked it. They quite enjoyed it. So because it's simple, right? Like you can understand moving and rolling and stuff. So
Yeah.
Is it a legacy competitive game?
yeah, it was the first legacy game.
Wow.
So yeah, before pandemic. Yeah, it's good. It's good. If you like Risk, you probably enjoy it.
Mm.
But it's that legacy system has been refined a lot since then. But it's still there where you open envelopes and stuff and open a box and reveal new components and all that kind of stuff. But we thrashed it over a few days, and I was definitely done with it. And it was. I think it's like 20 levels. I think I lost one of them. So it wasn't like the best thing to play with kids who are, I think at the time they're probably 8 and 10 or something. But they still enjoy playing it. They liked having their colored pieces and trying to fight their dad. So, which is probably a lot of your experiences as well, as like being the underdog a bit.
Yeah.
Trying to win.
Totally.
So
Yep.
it holds up. All right. Number 1, the most influential game of our lives, the games that made us. Well, it makes sense that my game is designed by a German, I think. That makes a lot of sense, right? So I'm going to butcher his name, but I believe it's Klaus Jürgenried, maybe. And this is Carcassonne. Zach's nodding his head. He guessed it. All right.
When you said Klaus, it was like, oh,
Klaus.
could it be Catan?
Oh, no.
Isn't he
I
Klaus
liked
Teuber?
Catan, but this game was far better for me. So my origin story, I probably shared it a few times on podcasts and interviews and stuff. I designed a game, which then introduced me to other people and to WellyCon and to play new games. And my friend Steve showed me Catan because he had it and he played it a few times. And he was surprised I'd never seen it or heard of it after designing a game. So he showed me Catan. I rushed out to Toy World, which is a local shop here. And just based on the covers, I bought Carcassonne and Family Business. And then I thrashed Carcassonne to pieces for the next few years. And like Ticket to Ride Europe, my wife and I would play this every day for ages on the floor. And we were pretty nice about it. We often would have the river in the middle. We wouldn't cross sides. So there was not a lot of stealing of cities and stuff going on, which you definitely can do competitively. But we just loved tile laying. We loved building out this map together, and scoring points was kind of insequential, but we just enjoyed this process of I get to draw a tile and place a tile and place things and score points and look, we finished this massive thing because we got all the expansions, well not all of them, but a lot of expansions. Actually, only for the tiles. We never actually really played with the expansion rules because we didn't care for the extra rule set. But we just had this massive set of Carcassonne. It would cover I don't know, the space of 2 or 3 couches on the floor. It was just huge big map we'd create. And my set is so gross now. The bag stinks, probably worse than the Stone Age cup. And the tiles are all worn and scratched off. But I haven't played it in ages. I think the last times I've played it was probably digitally, probably 3 or 4 years plus that I've played this game. But it has inspired me so much as a designer because I love tile laying. And of course, we've talked about World Wonders as the modern version of this for me because my wife likes it so much as well. But no, it's just an absolutely brilliant game. I guess it is dated and there are better versions of it now, really. But I still think it's still a very solid game. Probably in similar space to Catan where yes, there's better games, but yes, it still holds up. And if this was someone's first introduction to modern board game, it would still do a good job of that, I think. So that is Carcassonne. Great game.
Nice.
And a game that I probably pronounced wrong the first time I had it. Carcassonne is a great game. I love Carcassonne.
Nice.
The funny thing is, I think when my parents brought us Catan, I think they also bought Carcassonne, but I never really got it. I never really understood, it never really drew me in like Catan did. I don't know if I ever completely understood the rules either. Weirdly, I don't know. It was just
I remember seeing that in your board game shelf.
Yeah.
Back in the day and at your family home.
But we never played it. Yeah. So it's just weird.
Yeah, the weird part with the game where it falls apart a little bit for a teaching game is how the farms work. If you know how to score farms well, you'll destroy a new player. They have no chance. So it's one of those games that you kind of have to play suboptimally in your first play to teach someone oh yeah, you can do this and this, and then if you just want to win, you can win hands down because you just dominate all the farms. But yeah, so it's kind of a hard one to teach and not destroy them in a way without throwing the game a bit. But
yeah,
when you're on an equal level, it's a great game. I think if your Catan group had got into it, you would have played it real competitively.
Yeah,
and sniping cities and stealing stuff and placing tiles that ruin their stuff and all that. So it can be pretty cutthroat if you play the way.
I think just weirdly we never kind of got it, if you get what I'm saying. And I feel like if I played it
Yeah,
today, I would get it and I would understand like why it was such a big deal. But it was like in those times, I don't know, it would have been the games that I played before as well, that I was just formed in a way to like when I played Catan, it was like, wow, this is Catan. And when I played Carcassonne, it was like, I don't get it, you know, I don't understand why people love this game, you know? So it's interesting, like this whole conversation is about the games that formed you. So it's interesting also to think about like why in that moment I didn't get that game, you know? It's probably because of the games I'd played beforehand.
yeah, yeah. I remember playing like even like dominoes or any kind of card matching style games growing up. We'd like place cards in a way that these two icons were the same color and so on. Like that all led me to liking tile placement games, I think. So, and Carcassonne was the first one that did it with a really cool visual map.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually building a map, which was for me at the time was like, this is incredible. Because my first game, Linwood, that I made was kind of placing out a map that you're building and you're exploring this, growing land. So
Yeah.
Carcassonne was doing that already as well. And also, like when I designed Explorers, my kind of inspiration was I want to make a game like Carcassonne, but that you get to move around on the map. And that's kind of what the starting point for Explorers was very much making a Carcassonne style game.
Yeah, I think because I'd played like Monopoly and Risk, like I wanted pieces to be like moving on the map. So I remember when I played Explorers the first time, like I think you brought it around for testing at one point just before it had came out, or maybe when you're doing the expansions, I can't remember. But I remember playing that and being like, oh, this is so cool, you know? And the tile laying part made sense to me then because I was like moving on to those tiles and like, but yeah, for some reason, like I know that Carcassonne you put like little priests or monks or whatever on
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. But it was kind of like, I don't know, it just didn't make it sense to me for some reason because I was used to like Risk moving troops around and stuff like that. Like, you know.
Who am I? What
Yeah,
am I
yeah, well,
controlling? Like,
exactly.
what?
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah.
You're pretty much just putting pieces down as like dibs. This is mine. I want this
Yeah.
thing. And then, yeah.
Yeah, nice. So, can you guys guess my number one?
Oh,
I'm actually stumped.
it's going to be Happy Families. Old Maid. Snap.
It crossover with Shem, and my number one is Pandemic.
Wow.
Oh,
So there are so many origin points, like both in game design, I talk about this, like each game has several origin points. It's not just one. Like what was the mechanism? What was the theme idea? Like, and sometimes you have these two things separate and you bring them together, or sometimes they come in a very chronological order. And so to say this is not the beginning, but this was a beginning for my board game career or board game hobby, not career, is probably correct. It's a beginning for me. And this came about, one, Shem showed this game to me several times. I loved it. I love cooperating. I loved everything it does. And Shem kind of talked about that. But later on, when I was dating my now wife, she got a voucher for a bookstore. And we went to the bookstore, couldn't find anything that she wanted to buy. And we saw a copy of Pandemic there. And I remember having played it, being like, this is cool. And so we bought this game. I think this is the first game that I purchased, but I didn't even purchase. It was my wife's voucher. And played this with friends. And there was one Sunday afternoon, we played it 7 or 8 times back to back to back to back to back. And we kept losing. And then if we won, we would level up the difficulty. And it was so Moorish. And this is kind of the start of my hobby of collecting games, but also inviting friends around to play my games. Like all these other games that were earlier in this board game journey for me were other people's games, or they were games the family had or something. But this is when it became my own thing. Like when after playing this, I would start watching Dice Tower videos and hearing about the games they would recommend, next games that I should buy, and loving cooperative games also from this. Like it was just so impactful for my journey of being a gamer, because yes, I'm a board game designer, but I'm a gamer first. Like I'm a board game player first. And so this was the most impactful game, I would say, to being the board game player that I am today, liking the games that I like, owning games, inviting friends around, having good times with friends, playing board games and saying, let's play this again. That's like the best experience in games for me. So Pandemic did that wonderfully.
Nice. Yeah, I kind of feel to echo some of your sentiments here with my number one pick as well, because I've been talking a lot over this podcast about, oh, I got this when I was 6 or 7, and you know, like you can tell I've been playing games a long time. I talked about even kind of trying to design my first card game when I was like 11. And I remember like trying to design like a Yu-Gi-Oh type, Pokemon kind of card game when I was like 12, 11 and 12 as well. Like, because I think I was watching Yu-Gi-Oh or something and it was really cool. So it was like trying to make something similar. So like I've always kind of had this kind of like game design elements in me, but like always been just something fun. And I even designed like a video game when I was like 13, just using like a game making tool. And like I've always enjoyed designing maps and stuff like that on Age of Empires and Halo and stuff like that. So although this is kind of, if I look back, I can see these like examples of like, oh yeah, I've always liked doing this stuff. I've always liked playing games, but I was never really like addicted to it, if you know what I'm saying. And I'm kind of a person, I've got a bit of an addictive personality, and you have to be careful with that because, if you get addicted to the wrong things, it's not very good. But when something really grabs me, I want to do it like all the time. And although I liked board games and I liked designing games, I've never really been like, I want to do this all the time. I remember, for example, the first board game that I purchased by myself was when the first 2 years I lived in Italy, I purchased Catan. And there was a friend in church who wanted to play it all the time. And I was like, chill out, mate. Like, I'll play it every now and then, but I don't love it that much that I want to play it like all the time. Because I'd played it heaps by that point. But I was like, it's a cool game, let's play it. But when I came back from those first 2 years in Italy, I arrived back and right in a period where Architects was it was at a pretty good point, but there was like kind of the last parts of the playtesting and development happening. And there's just a need to play it heaps and heaps. And being really good mates with Sam and also, knowing Shem from when they were in band together, I got involved with the playtesting.
Shout out to Andrew as well.
Yeah.
Haven't seen him in a while, but shout out to Andrew.
Andrew, a couple of days at Shem's house, so we just spammed it. So yeah, there was probably two in that period of like 5.5 months that I was in New Zealand. I think we at least had 2 days at Shem's and we just spammed it back to back to back to back. And then I had some days at like, Sam's or other people's houses where we played it as well. And then actually Sam gave me his prototype copy and I took it back with me to Italy because I loved it so much. So by the time I got back to Italy, by the time the game came out, I had played it like, I don't know, 30 plus times. I actually made a strategy video about it like in the moment it came out. I was like the first person to give strategy tips.
I think I know what your number one is.
Okay.
I guess.
You figured it out?
Yeah.
So Architects of the West Kingdom is my number one. I think I probably haven't said that yet. Architects of the West Kingdom is my number one. And it's for all of these reasons because it was really the first game, for multiple reasons, because it was the first game that really got me addicted to board games in a way that only video games had maybe done before that, whereas like video games that I loved and was addicted to and just wanted to play all the time, but board games hadn't really done that for me. And then that kind of process of playtesting Architects and actually digging down into the game and like learning like all the different strategies that there could be, and like playing also with a group of people who were super good at the game and actually getting like kind of like super competitive, like not in like a want to kill everyone way, but in like a, oh man, everyone's doing well, I need to be at the top of my game, I need to like time everything, get the tempo right, like that was so much fun. So from the gamer point of view, that was like the moment where I was like, actually modern board games like are awesome, where I was like, actually these things can be just as good as video games and I want to play them. And from the other point of view was that I got to experience that kind of playtesting development experience and see Sam and Shem like making little changes sometimes between plays. It was like, oh, this isn't quite working. Let's just change this little thing. Oh, we'll take one coin cost off here. Or maybe this should have an extra tax, like whatever it was. And like, I was like, man, this is so cool. Like this whole like creating the game and developing the game. That's like such a cool experience to be a part of, even as like just a playtester. Then I was like, oh man, like maybe I should try and make games as well. So that kind of started me off on like actually trying to design a board game path as well. So it was kind of the starting point for both of those things, even though I had dabbled in design in the past and I had dabbled, like more than dabbled. I had played lots of board games in the past because my family was quite into board games. This was kind of the moment where I was like, I want to do this thing a lot and I'm kind of addicted to it now. So Architects of the West Kingdom, great job, Sam and Shem. It is a fantastic game. It still is. And if we had included Garphill Games in our top 10s, I would have definitely included this one. So there we go. Spot us.
Now, Shem is philosophically against and does not believe in honorable mentions. But I'm going to put him on the spot here. If you could have put one or two, you didn't put any Garphill games in there. And, for good reason. I think your list is great. And I love looking at your list, and it makes so much sense of you as a designer. Like seeing those games in there, I don't know, and seeing what you like to put in game designs. I don't know. It's very cool the way you've adapted those things. But you did say when we mentioned for the first time a Garphill game that you hadn't considered putting them on there. Is there a game that comes to mind, or one or two games that really shaped you as a designer, the process of designing them?
I think they all do, though. That's the thing. Like they all
Right.
do change
Yeah,
each other.
yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
we've talked about it a bunch before, even in person. Like there's certain games where I look at them like as a milestone. I did that thing that I hoped I could have done, which I guess for you guys, like looking at Chaos Sword, like, oh, it's the combat game you always wished you had as a kid.
Yeah.
So there are different games like that. But there are also games, I guess, for me where they're kind of breakthroughs as a designer. So just trying to think through the kind of which ones they would have been. A lot of my early games I worked on were like small card games or very small footprint games at least. And I was kind of learning different mechanisms, how to use them well. It's hard to say. I mean, like Shipwrights is still the biggest jump for me, I think, of going from because it was a game that I knew I couldn't produce in the way I was producing games. So it sat on the shelf for a while. And obviously, that's what set off Garphill Games on the trajectory that it's on now. So from that, so it's probably the biggest one, I suppose. And obviously then led to Raiders. So yeah, I know.
Yeah, nice.
They've all helped get to a certain level, right? Like I think the process of us designing Paladins was also another big change because we were far more critical of our own design in a way.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Architects, it's so hard to remember, but it was just this fun process of like iterating and changing and trying things. Whereas Paladins like, all right, we've done this now together. And now let's try and make something like even better.
Yeah.
And so
we needed to surpass that. Yeah.
That was like a lot of like, can this be better? Can this be better? And now that's often how we approach all of our games now, is with that same kind of attitude of like, it's cool, but could it be better?
Yeah. I think there's also an element where like not necessarily all the successes you learn from as well, or like the ones that were really hard work, like such a small thing, but like the co-op scenarios in Tome Saga, they nearly broke me,
Yeah.
That was complete madness, but those also shaped me in a way as a designer. Like you can spend so much time on something that, I don't know. There's also a degree to which when you say, Shem, that it's good enough, like I've had to learn that as well, where it's like you don't actually have infinite time to work on all of these games, as cool as it would be. And I would love to tinker forever and ever and ever with games. But the video game designers, people from like League of Legends, they have that privilege of being able to keep adjusting the game and getting all the stats back and then adjusting the game, and and that's really cool. But we don't get to do that as board gamers. So you learn from kind of all the hard effort, work, sweat and tears you put into games. You learn from successes, but also from struggles and failures as well.
Sure. All right. So just a recap for my top 10, going from 10 down to number 1, I have Endeavour, Lisboa, Village, Pandemic, Stone Age, San Juan, Citadels, Pillars of the Earth, Ticket to Ride Europe, and Carcassonne.
My 10 to 1 were The Mind, Gloomhaven, Cosmic Encounter, Terra Mystica, Citadels, Architects of the West Kingdom, Lord of the Rings Risk, 500, Raiders of the North Sea, and Pandemic.
And mine from 10 to 1 were Spirited, Texas Hold'em Poker, Canasta, Citadels, Circadian's Chaos Order, Catan, Boulder Dash, 500, Risk, and Architects of the West Kingdom.
Canasta is from 1939.
Wow. There you go, guys. Do I have the oldest game on the list that no one has a go?
For sure. It was originated in Montevideo, Uruguay, around 1940. Spread to Argentina and the US.
That's crazy.
We hope you've enjoyed our top 10 countdown, but we'd love to hear from you. Jump on the Garphill Games Discord and let us know in the podcast channel what makes places 5 to 1 in your list.
Welcome back to the BGG Top 200 Draft. As I repeat, every podcast, these are taken from screenshots that we did when we started. And this time, we're looking at games 141 to 150. We'll be 3/4 of the way there. So, reading the games out, the games are Trajan, Twilight Imperium 3rd Edition, Aeon's End, War Eternal, Russian Railroads, Hansa Teutonica, Arkham Horror the card game, revised core set, Venus Deluxe Edition, Rising Sun, The Seventh Continent, and ISS Vanguard. So Sam had the last ban, so Shem will be banning this time. I know you should ban Shem so that Sam doesn't get it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe I should. All
You
right.
know both of us want it.
Anarchist.
Yeah. Well, someone did take away my ticket to ride once, so this goes around, comes around. So there's not a lot on this list that I really love. There's a few that I do like, but there is one that these two guys love, and I did have some beef with them. Not heaps, but had some issues with. I'm going to be mean, and I'm going to ban Hansa Teutonica.
A way to make sure that the kids don't fight because neither of them are jealous.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's why, sure.
Fair enough.
Keeping us honest.
Okay, I like several games here. I love Eon's End system. I've not played War Eternal, but I feel like someone else has already got Eon's End.
I feel like you've got it.
Maybe I've already got it. Yeah, I don't even know. But if someone's got it, then I don't think it's right to draft it. I'm just going to check. Yeah, I've already got an Eon's End game. So I'm not going to pick that one. I liked Russian Railroads. I liked Trajan. Quite enjoyed Rising Sun. But I think the weird one that I'm going to pick is Seventh Continent. I don't know. This is a game that actually has massive issues, like really does, where you die and you just have to start again and you kind of feel like it was pointless. But there was something about this game which was so captivating for me. I played it with Shem and I just wanted to keep playing and like discovering the mysteries on this island, this continent. And I played it with my wife and we just left it set up. And we kind of ended up making up our own house rules because some of the gameplay elements were a little bit unsatisfying, but the discovery, the adventure, the exploration, the mystery, all of that sort of stuff was really compelling. So I'm going to pick this game, which captivated me, and I know neither of you were going to pick it, but yeah, Seventh Continent.
Nice. Well, with the Hansa Teutonica ban, I'm left with all games that I haven't played. So
That's what you get.
it's making things difficult. I have played Twilight Imperium 4th edition, but not the 3rd edition. But I already have the 4th edition in my list. So, I mean, doubling down Twilight Imperium would be pretty extreme. I do think Rising Sun needs an honorable mention, though, because if I remember the story correctly, there was like some Kiwi guys who made a Wikipedia page of one of their mates and saying he was a Japanese god or something like that.
Yeah, Kotahi. Yeah.
And then got included in the game as one of the characters. It's pretty crack up. Yeah, there we go. Be careful with your board game research. Don't trust Wikipedia without secondary sources, maybe. Anyway, that's pretty funny. And the New Zealand connection. I'm just going to have to shoot at something that I'm not sure of. So I'm going to go for Vinhos Deluxe Edition. I like wine, so I might like Vinhos. I'm probably pronouncing it terribly because I don't speak Portuguese. Sorry. Is the game any good, guys? You can tell me.
I gave it an 8, I think.
Yeah, we enjoyed it. I can't remember it too well, but I think we enjoyed playing this one quite a bit.
Yeah, it's one of, I could be wrong, that's one of Vital's earlier games.
Yeah.
That might not be true, but it is one of his lighter games. It's not light, but it's far more accessible than some of the other games. But yeah, it was good. It's probably been overshadowed by Viticulture, to be fair, with the theme. But I don't know. It was good.
Viticulture is a game that I sold, so maybe Vinhos will be the wine game for me.
So I would have been happy with Rising Sun, Vinhos, Trajan, but I'm going to go with Russian Railroads.
Yeah.
I think I played it a few times on, there's a digital site you can find. I forget what it's called. I always have to search, try and find it again, but it's like a German-based site, well before BGA was a thing, where you can play some games online. And this one has a solo option, so I played a bunch there. I think you, Sam, and I played it as well, maybe.
Yeah, on BGA. Yeah.
It's a very clever game and probably one that's overlooked quite a bit, maybe because of its age. And also, I think it sold out, from memory of the story, it sold out quite fast. And then it just was, you couldn't get it anymore for a long time.
That's right.
So it got a bit of a fan base, but was so hard to find. It's had new versions made, I think. I forget what they're called, but it's like something else, railroads.
German railroads, American railroads. Yeah.
I haven't played those, but this one was really good. It had some very tight systems. I think I would say it's similar kind of design feel, at least, or aesthetic or DNA to what we played one of our first or second episodes of this podcast, Nippon.
Nippon? Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's as big as Nippon, but it's got some similar kind of feelings to it that I got out of the game with the way you can play, the kind of strategies that open up and stuff, and the different options you can play as. So it's been a while since I played it, so I'm probably talking rubbish, but I'll pick Russian Railroads.
I could see it being a podcast game as well. There's quite a bit to discuss with that one. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Lens and Veil podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Garphill Games. You can follow Garphill Games on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, X, and YouTube by subscribing to our newsletter at garphill.com or by joining the Garphill Discord server.
You chose Lorenzo, I say.
Yeah, that's right.
Il Magnifico.